Welcome, everybody. It's great to have you join us today for the session on Black Friday readiness and how automation changes the retail logistics. I am Anna Noribradze. I am a digital marketing specialist at Cleveron, and I'm also going to be a moderator for this session. I'll quickly walk you through what to expect from today's webinar and the key insights you'll gain. So let's start with a quick presentation. So Black Friday is the ultimate stress for retailers and delivery networks where speed, scale, and customer experience, it all collides. And in 2025, customer expectations are higher than ever, parcel volumes are breaking records, and efficient retail logistics has become mission critical. So automation is now no longer optional, but it's a backbone of competitiveness. So we chose this important topic for today, and the agenda of the webinar will look the same. So we will have 5 minutes for introduction. We're going to move into discussing the Black Friday bottlenecks. Then we will talk about logistics and Cleveron's impact. Then we're going to have future outlook, and also we will dedicate some time for public Q&A. We did have a registration form where we already received some of the questions. However, you are definitely encouraged to ask your questions wherever you're watching live, and we will answer them during the Q&A session. And a quick note about Cleveron as well. Some of you may already be familiar with Cleveron and our services, but for those who are new, here's a quick recap on everything you need to know. We are a full-scale solutions provider, from innovative parcel lockers to powerful software and services. Our lockers are tailored to your needs, and our cloud-based software helps you achieve your goals with seamless integrations, with real-time insights, and exceptional user experience. We also offer global 24/7 support, from routine maintenance to remote issue resolution. So we have a high-quality service, and we have spare parts available, but we're going to go into details during this discussion on what Cleveron actually offers you as well. So yes, having this reliable resources all year round is very important, especially during the peak seasons. And one of the biggest peak seasons is coming up, and this brings me to the conversation of today's webinar. Let's get out to our panel discussions and our panelists, and I will briefly introduce them to you. As you can see, Maik sadly is not with us today because of some health concerns. We wish him a speedy recovery. Fortunately, we have Mark Schneider stepping in, and he's going to share his valuable experience with you as well. A quick note about Mark. He's our business development director. He focuses on the UK sector. He's helping retailers and logistics companies get the full potential of automation. And Mark brings crucial hands-on insights into how automation drives both scalability and customer satisfaction. Taavi here is our service and operations manager who oversees post-delivery performance, support, and maintenance of hardware across global markets. And he focuses on excellence and constant improvement, and he makes sure our customers always get the best. And Siim, last but not least, he's our head of sales and business operations. He bridges the gap between sales strategy and operational efficiency, in short. And his expertise in data and process optimization just ensures this seamless global sales performance throughout the year. And yeah, he helps us deliver our promise to customers with precision and integrity. So guys, we're super happy to have you here. How are you doing?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
That is amazing. I'm super excited to get into today's conversation and to start talking. I think as we are approaching Black Friday, the busiest time of the year, as I said, the retailers and logistics providers are thinking about how to optimize these processes and how to make the process best for the end users. But let's start with you, Siim. From your perspective, what has been the single biggest Black Friday challenge that you see our retailers and logistics providers face?
I think the biggest challenge in that sense is quite obvious in the sense that it is the big volume that you get, which you don't have in the rest of the year. So it's the variance that you experience during this time. And it can be 5 times higher, it can even be 10 times higher in a given day than the regular baseline volume you would have in low season. Or even over a longer period, you can have 2-3 times higher volumes over a week or a month.
Mm-hmm.
The highest volumes we actually have seen is 800 parcels a day in some places, right? So that's really significant, and you have to manage that with the resources you have.
Mhm.
In managing this, really, the peak, I think the key is that you have the short-term planning and you have the long-term planning. In the short term, what you can do is you can work on the customer behavior. So customers always want to come and pick up their parcel at certain times of the day. So they will come in the lunchtime, they will come right after work. You kind of want to spread that out. So what you can do is use some messaging, maybe use some incentives here and give them discounts for picking up the parcels quicker. So you can kind of flatten out their peak time without losing any sales. And the second part for managing the peak period is long-term planning. So when you are buying equipment, when you are setting up the operations, do you make the investment to handle this peak period, or do you kind of go for efficiency and payoff in the regular term, and then you have to add something extra, or maybe even lose some sales in the peak period? We see that more and more of our customers are opting for the option of going for the peak period because it's just that important in terms of the overall annual revenue that they're getting.
Mhm.
But it's an optimization task.
Mhm. You gave us a very good overview, and you gave us like point on how balancing these resources with customer unpredictability is very important. And Mark, I want to hear your perspective on what does this surge in this demand mean for the supply chain?
So I think when you come to look at this surge in demand, it puts a huge strain on the supply chain, and it can cause bottlenecks. So if it's not handled correctly, you can have items that are out of stock, you can have delivery delays, which also then creates the poor customer experience. All of those things together ultimately will lead to a loss in income. So we need to be able to have this real precise forecasting, as Siim said, short term and long term, look at inventory management and the resilience of the logistics system to be able to cope with that surge in demand. To successfully navigate this, it is really important that these peaks are forecasted, that there's a flexibility within operations and having choice in terms of logistics, while maintaining the speed and accuracy of orderings and the delivery that is going on. I think something we'll see this year in particular, an additional complexity, is the marketplace commerce and the social commerce. So marketplace commerce are platforms like eBay and Vinted. Your social commerce, things like TikTok Shop, which are surging in popularity this year. Really unpredictable in terms of sales, because you could go from a product having 0 sales one week up to tens of thousands of units in a matter of hours because it's going viral. These are a lot harder to forecast for and provide additional challenges during the Black Friday period.
All great points. And I must say that even though forecasting and this adaptability and flexibilities are vital, sometimes we do see that the situation on ground is different. Taavi, I want to ask you, how does it affect the day-to-day operations and the overall volume during Black Friday?
Yeah, so basically we like Maik and Mark and Siim already said that we see a sudden increase of parcels handed over during this period, and it's really important to collect data from year to year previous experiences and compare them to analyze them and prepare them properly to increase either staff availability in the store, who can insert parcels in a faster manner, and also prepare your procedures correctly. So if you're having a large volume difference, you have to do changes on the field as well. And but mainly what we see that can help is collecting data, incident data, parcel volume data, analyzing, seeing where the spike happens, and trying to compare and see if it is similar and predictable for this year. And also you can include sales, different targets that you have, and align them with data.
I see that all of you have highlighted how big of a pressure it actually puts on the supply chain this period. And we've seen many improvements in technology, in operations over the years, but we still see that the handoff is still a weak spot. So, Mark, why do you think the handoff remains a weak spot in 2025?
I think with the handoff, you've got 3 parties in play here. You've got the retailer, you've got the logistics company, but you've also got the customer. And each of these has their own demands, and they have their own expectations in terms of the speed, of that delivery, the cost of the delivery, but also added into that this real complex situation we have globally in terms of sourcing suppliers, looking at omni-channel shopping and the external pressures, looking at instability around the world, labor shortages. It's all adding to that challenge. Yes, there are huge footsteps forward in terms of AI and automation that is improving the efficiency. These haven't fully solved those core challenges that we're seeing when we look at cost control, when we look at customer satisfaction, and also modern supply chains are really dynamic. They're changing all the time. So I think the challenge is going to be integrating those goods. So how do we get the goods from retailer into logistics into the customer's hands? And that's always going to be a challenge. That network piece, how we send it to the customer, and then how we take it back from the customer. They're going to be inherently complex. The external pressures means that even with the better tools, I feel this is going to be quite a persistent area of vulnerability when it comes to the handoff.
And I want to invite Siim to add to it. You've already mentioned how customer unpredictability actually affects pretty much all the processes all around. But how do you think, what's the broader challenge when you're managing the customer expectations and behavior in balancing this efficiency and cost?
Well, I think the key, going back to what Mark said about the challenge there, is that when you talk about internal operations, is that you control your internal operations. Putting it very bluntly, you're paying people to do certain things, so they will probably do it. Whereas with customers, you cannot really control them. And if you try to control them and guide them in the wrong direction too aggressively, they will just stop buying from you. So that's a problem you're dealing with. So again, going back to how to tackle this is a short-term planning, which I mentioned before, to look at the data about customer behavior from the previous years and say how you can use messaging to maybe be a little bit more aggressive or be a little bit more suggestive about picking up the parcels quickly, maybe even give them some incentives to pick them up more quickly so they will have a discount, and then work with your customers in this clever way so you can flatten the peak by shifting the demand and not getting rid of it. So you don't lose any revenue and your customers are still happy.
That's great points. And it seems that even though the technology has addressed many operational challenges, the human element, especially the customer behavior, does still play a huge role in maintaining this balance between efficiency and cost. This said, many of the things, the challenges that we pointed out, actually bring us to automation as a solution and as a new frontier. Siim, let's continue with you. What are the biggest missed opportunities that can be capitalized with automation?
I think this goes back to the challenges part, that there is a peak demand, and the demand can be very high. As I said, we have locations where on certain days, 800 parcels are handed out through an APM, or an automated parcel machine, as we call them, is APM in the industry lingo. So by automating, you can have this volume, and this is operated basically by one person in a day, and they have time left over to do other things as well. So how many parcels do you think you can handle with one person manually? I would say that 100 is already a very strong result. So you could say that it's almost a 10x increase over the base volume that you can get with automation. So I think this is very big. It's not pretty big. It's very big thing to miss out on.
So automation does raise the ceiling of, let's say, what is possible, right? Mark, what do you think is like common logistics failure that will be avoided and can be avoided with automation?
So I think you mentioned it in your intro. Whenever you have a human element involved in the processes, that's where you can get problems, you can get mistakes coming through. So any task that is repetitive, that is predictable, this is where automation can really help. So things, scenarios like mispicking of certain orders or losing inventory, these all are via manual processes in a warehouse. So using things like robotic pickers, using barcode scanners or RFID within a warehouse gives you that real-time inventory overview of what you have in stock, and it just stops those mistakes happening. It significantly reduces the time taken as well to fulfill those orders. If you can do this on an automated process, you can switch your operation from 9 to 5, where you've got humans, through to a 24/7 operation.
So we do see that automation does really fix those like the human errors, right? But what
Yes.
about the delivery side? Taavi, I'm going to ask you, especially when we're talking about some customers in outside major urban areas, where do you see automation play a big role there?
The main improvement I see in logistics overall in like not urbanized areas, more remote, is large parcel deliveries to remote locations, which are which are a long distance from big city hubs and metropolis, and this gives an option for remote areas to receive larger parcels like furniture, something they need for a big family. It gives a lot more access to users that otherwise would maybe not travel that far to get them get the product they need. And this brings a lot of flexibility into regions that previously did not get that attention. And home delivery today is oftentimes not working because people are not home during business hours, and the remote location where you can retrieve a large parcel is definitely something that people want. And the second issue is defining the compartment sizes. Like if what is the efficient size to always have those lockers filled with larger, smaller parcels, and to analyze what kind of compartment sizes are required to keep them full long term.
All great points mentioned. I think now I want to move on to, you have immense experience, some of you more than a decade experience, and you know what's going on within the industry as well. So Siim, let's start with you. How do companies prepare for peak season?
I think it is the same preparation you always have. You just maybe focus it on the timing a little bit, in the sense that you always want to be trained up. You always want to have your equipment maintained. So you just make sure that it's done on a scheduled basis before this peak period. So at the time of the peak period, the training is fresh, the maintenance is fresh, everything runs smoothly. Probably a lot of companies go for additional resources to fill in the additional volumes going through the stores. You have more customers there; they need more attention. And yeah, I guess an important thing is also what not to do is to avoid any experimentation. So like when you have some operations and you have ideas what you want to do with services, you have some software updates that might take care of bugs, and this is not the time to do it. Do this at a time that you have a stable, low volume, and the impact is going to be lower.
That's great. Taavi, and coming from the operations standpoint, give us a deeper dive. What do companies do actually during this period?
Yes, from our experience, we sit down before peak seasons. We analyze the data. We try to understand the volumes. We try to understand the incidents. We try to prepare solutions and procedures to counter the issues we had last year. So we're constantly collecting lessons identified and lessons learned. Oftentimes, our customers also have extended SLA readiness requests, like Siim mentioned. Sometimes it might be that we need to have additional technicians on site who provide the availability in a faster SLA. But the main thing is to focus when you're using automated robotics is to prepare trainings, prepare the annual maintenance prior to have the units working smoothly. Everybody knows how to insert parcels. So the procedural part internally in the stores is also really important. Plus, we can see that some of the customer HQs are more driven to coordinate additional escalation matrices, additional contacts to have on the field to solve issues faster. Sometimes they ask double the SLAs, which is something that definitely will drive up the cost, but the impact is also great since you have, like Siim said, 10x parcels in one day. So the time criticality is really important. And lastly, some of the clients we have been working together have also requested priority store status. So if they have out of their all of the stores, they have identified 10 which are the highest priority, they might add extra requirements on top in those locations which we have to fulfill. But during these preparations, we are really trying to provide the data and the insight from our experience as well, and collecting it from the customer.
So the customers are getting ready, they're preparing, they're coordinating everything. But Mark, what happens when the doors actually open? How big of a role does communication and other operations actually play once that happens?
Yeah, so I think gone are the days where we have a Friday that it's considered Black Friday, where you have queues and queues of people running through the door, grabbing the nearest 75-inch TV that they can see in store because it's reduced. The main aim now, I think, for Black Friday is to smooth the curve of demand, so you don't see these huge daily spikes that put pressure on logistics and the store staff. In store, customers adjusting to shop online or queuing early, we start to see those coming through. Looking at previous year's data, so you can see when the sales spikes are, the stores can then staff accordingly. You can have the right people in the right place at the right time. Having real-time communication devices between the store staff is really crucial, where we're seeing a lot more incidents of staff having headsets, for example, in store, so they can have that real-time communication. They can react to what's happening in store. There is some planning that can happen as well, so we can have some real-time monitoring through dashboards and looking at queue management software to really identify those issues, deploy the staff to those areas so we can avoid those bottlenecks that we see. If worse comes to the worst, and we do see incidents like we've seen in the past, where there are things such as extreme frustration from customers or even fighting breaking out, to have really clear protocols in place to deal with those in store.
Thank you for giving us such a overview, for detailed overview. But now we have quickly touched upon what actually Cleveron, how Cleveron prepares the customers to deal with this peak periods. But let's go into details, and let's start with you, Siim. How does Cleveron prepare its customers to face and be ready for these peak seasons?
So you mean how does Cleveron itself prepare, right? Because of course we part of our preparation is helping our customers prepare. So this is the training and maintenance, of course.
Exactly.
But the part that we do ourselves is that we actually also get additional resources in-house to meet these extended SLAs or extended service levels that Taavi was talking about. So we may just make sure that we have the resources to respond more quickly. We are more proactive about it. When we are able to monitor with more resources, then we can even maybe avoid some issues before they happen, right? So I guess that's the main thing from Cleveron.
Taavi, can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. From our perspective in after sales, where we have remote support and on-site visits coordination, we definitely set out new priorities for our teams. So the focus is mostly on critical incidents where the units are fully impacted and not usable. So we redesign our dashboards, our priorities. We set focus daily if needed, and try to be proactive, like Siim said, and try to push for faster solutions and focus on only the important tasks. So under our important tasks, what I mean is that if we have planned projects, we can hold them for this while. For example, if we have cleaning visits, task cleaning, this is something that we hope to do before, and we have installations, long-term projects. Those can be either postponed or halted on the same time as well. But this will give us more availability with our technicians to react faster. And in our own work logic in remote support, we also start focusing on daily stand-ups to understand where the critical incidents are happening. We also advise our clients about the trends of how big the parcels are. So if the parcel volume sizes increase, let's say 10%, it will take away 10% of the volume that was potentially could have been inserted in the unit. So the trends are changing, and we have to notify our customer as well. And with our partners who are delivering the on-site service in different countries, we also start to prepare them already in summer to notify where the sales are happening, where do we want the highest availability to be there, and also inquire how they plan vacations, who are their escalation matrices, if anybody is away. So we go really in detail to have that availability during this season. And I think we can see that our partners are also coming aboard with this idea, and they're also proposing solutions and thinking along with us.
That is great. And Taavi, what can you tell us about this temporarily elevated service levels? I think it sets the tone to actually smooth out those peaks and prepare companies to deal with them better, right?
Mhm. Yes, the extended service levels mostly are related to faster reactions. So if you have a technician that is usually on site in 12 hours, now the requirement is, for example, 6 hours. And this is purely driven due to the, I would not like to say chaos, but all the commotion happening in the store. You have a lot more negative feedback if something is working. So we have to have a faster reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of the SLA is maybe having a dispatch, somebody who can assign technicians even on weekends, for example, on Saturday, Sunday, to have somebody on the technician side as well as a manager available to coordinate the help desk if needed.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the last thing is having a higher readiness in spare parts. So we constantly analyze what kind of spare parts are oftentimes used. And before Black Friday, we try to bring the thresholds of different spare parts that are critical to a little higher norm than usual.
Mm-hmm. And I want to understand, Mark, how does data actually play into this preparation period? Data gained from, of course, our software that we provide, from all the processes. So how does this data actually play out?
Data is hugely important. The points that Siim and Taavi make, you can't do those improvements and that readiness without having the data from previous years, which allows you to predict what could happen and what the operational needs are. So without the data, it's almost impossible to do. By having this data that we share with our clients, it then allows them and us to efficiently allocate the resource that's needed to cope with the demand, but also looking at the inventory management side of things as well. It just allows it to be a lot more accurate and a lot more sustainable for the carriers. By having us on board and by using our systems, there's a predictability for retailers and carriers when they automate that last mile piece. Whether it's the robotic lockers or the standard lockers, the software that we have certainly helps improve the efficiency and the streamlined operations there. Using that valuable data and that insight can also help shift the customer behavior, which I think Siim mentioned earlier, that we can work with our clients to help dictate that. When do customers come and collect parcels? When do they order? How long are they there for? By having Cleveron on board and by using the data Taavi mentioned, we can look at the parcel sizes that are coming through, and we can predict what resources are needed and how that resource is allocated. So hopefully it goes from a chaotic peak season to something that's much smoother, much more competitive and comprehensive for our stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. And talking about the data and how automation is actually a solution to all of this and how much experience all of you have in this field, I want to ask you, based on your experience, what has been the most impressive data that shows that automation actually does work? Siim, let's start with you.
Maybe I just really quickly go back on what Mark's. I like your phrasing. We can dictate what the customer does. I would rephrase that. We can gently nudge, because the moment we try to dictate, we will start losing some business, right? But it's the right point stands anyway, of course. Right. Coming to your question about what's the most impressive data, then I would still go back to the sheer volume that you can achieve with automation. It's 10x, right? If not more, of course. And in some locations it can be 5x because you just don't have the volume to back it up. But this would definitely be a good example. Actually, I just thought of is that a few years ago, the Cleveron sales team went to visit a customer in the UK. They were in London during the peak period. Can't recall actually if it was Christmas or Black Friday, but they tried to order something from one of our customers online. And the only store in the vicinity where click and collect from the store was available at that time was the one that had the Cleveron unit in it. And in all the other locations, if a customer wanted to pick it up in the other location, would they have then just ordered it to their home for home delivery, so that they will get the item, yes, but they will not go shopping when they get a T-shirt. They will not buy a matching pair of trousers with it. Or did they just abandon the cart and forego the purchase altogether? So this is actually what we're talking about: this massive increase of the volume you can handle and additional purchases you wouldn't have otherwise. And it's hundreds of orders per day that you can manage with automation.
Taavi, what can you tell us? What's the most impressive data you see that automation actually does work?
From my perspective, I would even say the example I want to bring is not fully based on data, but from experience I had when I was meeting a customer. We were going through the click and collect procedure, the standardized one in the store, and when they described it, they said that if a customer enters the store, it usually takes 5 to 10 minutes for the customer to go to the click and collect kiosk and ask for the product, and they will go and find it, and they will receive it in approximately 10 minutes. So currently, like previously mentioned as well, we've seen units that can do 11,000 parcels per month, and this is a very significant increase when you compare it to the 5 to 10 minute handout time. And this is something that will give back time to the employees in the store to focus on new customers, new clients who are interested in the current sales that are happening, and they can focus on that. And everyone who is only there to collect can do it seamlessly. But maybe one of the greatest things I've seen from the data is when you combine different carriers into one system, this will also bring up the potential that your locker can manage. So if you are not meeting the volumes that you were hoping, maybe you can team up with somebody else and get the volumes that you were expecting.
Mark, what can you tell us?
Yeah, very similar to Taavi's. There was a retailer whose average click and collect time was 7 minutes, and that involved having to press a button when you got to the counter, wait for the staff member to come, take the details, go off to the storeroom, find the parcel, and bring it back. So if you're thinking that you're doing under 10 customers an hour for that member of staff, when they put in the robotic unit that we have at Cleveron, that changed to about 15 seconds as the average. So not only can you service an awful lot more customers in the same time frame, you've actually freed up that member of staff to then assist paying customers in store who are there to buy their products. That provides a really positive customer experience. And actually, when you go on platforms like TikTok, customers are filming their collections of their parcels from robotic lockers because it's something that's just so cool. And I think Siim mentioned it earlier about the basket abandonment you can get. I read something this week, up to 80% of baskets are abandoned if the customer's preferred click and collect method isn't available. So it's, having that availability is huge. Times that by the Black Friday season, it's an awful lot of revenue that you could be losing out on.
That's awesome. Though this is just incredible examples that you brought in. Mark, I also want to ask you about the dynamics between retailers and logistics partners and how automation actually changes this dynamics between them.
Yeah, I think looking back, you used to have one logistics partner for one retailer. That was their preferred partner, and everything went through there. What we're seeing now are retailers having multiple logistics partners, not relying on one to help deliver the goods throughout the year, not just for Black Friday. And having all of those logistics partners, that throws up a challenge that can be quite siloed, where you've got different logistics partners for the same retailer. It can be quite labor intensive. By using automation and specifically with Cleveron, what you can do is you can change that then to become a real data-driven, collaborative and efficient supply chain, where the retailer has a choice of logistics partners to use. This will also increase the supply chain visibility, so the speed and accuracy of parcels, which is what the customer wants. The customers are getting more and more demanding about, I want it tomorrow, I want it for free. It enables that fast delivery times. It helps reduce the costs as well for both parties. So by having that in place with automation, the relationship turns into a much more strategic one, looking at leveraging the technology that's available for that optimized routing, that real-time tracking, but also that enhanced resilience of a system. So if you do have those social commerce situations where you see a huge spike one week with certain products, you have a range of logistics providers that through the automation will automatically push volume to where there is the capacity.
We are seeing the clear benefits of automation and how it's actually affecting pretty much each part of our life. And it is how it should be, and it's how it's going to be in the future as well. So let's move on to the future projections. Siim, I want to start with you. How do you see automation shaping the future of logistics?
I think I think that if you're looking at that present of logistics, then with minimum automation, what is done is that there are kind of two, I would call them extremes. On the one hand, you have this very granular minimum infrastructure, but quite complex operations, or rather, there's pretty extensive infrastructure, but it's provided publicly, which is roads, which is home delivery. So just vans going around home to home. And then you have this very centralized network of, let's say, post offices and what we call PUDO points, pick up, drop off points, or even stores where you can pick up, let's say, brand stores where you can pick up the items that you have purchased. So you can create something in between that's very optimal in the sense that you can affordably create a network of these pickup locations and get reasonably close to all of the end customers. And at the same time, you can optimize the operations in this network because you don't have to go to every customer, every single one. And in the end, it's very efficient, but for the customers as well, or the end users, the people who are purchasing items or accepting the deliveries, it's also actually more convenient because you have another option. And being at home, I think Taavi explained this, that getting something to your home can be inconvenient because you have to be there when the driver arrives. The driver gives you a window, but doesn't always hit the window. They may actually knock and then just run away. Parcels can get stolen if they're left on your porch. Yeah, that's an American thing. In Europe, I don't think parcels are even left on. We don't have porches, right? So, right. So there's an added convenience. You can pick up your parcels at your own time on the way to somewhere, and you can have this. You're no longer bound to post offices, but there will be a location that's on the way onto your work, to your home, wherever you're going. So there's convenience and efficiency arising from this.
Yeah, does sound super convenient, and I like that future. But Taavi, what can you tell us? How do you see automation shaping the future of logistics?
Mainly providing a more clear operational overview in software, how the parcels are transferred between different systems, and how carriers are starting to cooperate through a similar system. So I see an automation as a tool to consolidate resources. You can maybe use similar server systems. You can bring down your costs on keeping up your own hardware or IT SIMs. So I think that's the main win I currently see.
And Mark, what do you have to tell us? What's the future? What does the future hold?
Yeah, so I think certainly the short-term future, I think we're going to be seeing, rising costs across the board for everything. Labor shortages, I think, is quite an important thing that's coming through that lots of people are experiencing. And having repetitive tasks that have to be manually handled is just putting strain on a system that is potentially already strained to its limit. By having automation, what that's going to do is it's going to make the operations more efficient. It's going to have more accurate deliveries for the customers, and it's going to start costing less. So it's going to reduce that pressure that's on the system there. Things such as ESG, so looking at reducing emissions, how is what we're doing affecting the environment, that's going to be really key. So having things that are maybe autonomous vehicles, looking at drones, looking at pavement robots, but also robotics within warehouse operations as well, can help all bring that down, that emission cost. I think the real challenge is going to be integrating. And how can we do that safely, integrating within an infrastructure, but also sticking with the various legal frameworks that are in place. Certainly, I can see a kind of a land grab going on at the moment, particularly with lockers, where the suitable locations for lockers are getting less and less common. And what automation is going to do is, yes, this is going to be a first step with lockers. Further down the line, when we really do embrace automation, it's going to pull these together, because at the end of the day, we want a great customer experience. The customers want to have choice. They want to be able to do what they want to do in the quickest and most convenient way. And that's how automation is going to help.
And after all this discussion about automation, its benefits, and what it actually holds, what do you tell a retailer or a logistics provider who tells you that, Taavi, let's start with you, who tells you that they're not ready for automation yet? What do you tell them?
Well, I would say in retail and logistics, automation and efficiency are everything. So when you say you're not ready, it means you're accepting the risk of slower delivery, burnouts, and operational bottlenecks.
Siim, what do you tell us?
I have to agree in the sense that automation is the staples. Like, so you cannot actually operate without any automation. So you're either shutting down services, in which case, well, that's fine. Or if it can be that you're starting up and you haven't automated yet, then I would say that you actually have an advantage. You can start from scratch and already design all your processes around automated processes. Yeah. So you don't have the legacy infrastructure that has been built up for manual processes. So, for instance, when it comes to stores, when it comes to pick-up drop-off points, you design the entire location differently. You plan the movement of people differently because you're already putting in automation, and you don't need to have the same amount of space. You don't need to have as much manpower, and you can start from a much more efficient basis. So, in a way, it can be an advantage. So.
Mark, what do you tell us?
I think automation can be daunting at first when you step back and think, right, where do I need to automate? What can I do? Where do I start? But I think the key is to start. Just start with it. Start small and scale up as you get comfortable. We've shown that automation can help you become more efficient. It can help reduce costs. It can make life easier for your team and your customers. So start small. Look at where the biggest pain point is within the business and see what can be done to automate a part of that process that alleviates that. So that's for me is start small, but start. That's the main point for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely convinced, and I'm more than sure that our listeners are as well. If they were not, they're open to the idea a lot more. So now is the time when we move on to the Q&A, and I will start with the questions that were already submitted by the people who registered for the webinar. So yeah, let's quickly go through all the questions that we have. I will read them out to you. So let's start with the one. First question that we have is, how can we use service data from Black Friday to train staff or optimize store layouts?
So the service data we have can give us the reflection of what kind of performance is expected in the store, what kind of volume increase to expect. So maybe the examples I brought out before is that more volumes equals more incidents, and just preparing yourself to have all the contacts available in the store when any escalation is needed. The store employee or the manager has a plan which he or her can act upon, and it doesn't have to. When it's preset, they don't have to hand tailor anything during that panic, and they are more. They can feel more secure and safe knowing that most of the countermeasures have already been agreed on, and they just have to activate them. So I think that's the main thing.
Mm-hmm. Another kind of similar question we have is this one. Could automation shift how we design stores altogether, from selling spaces to fulfillment hubs?
I think this goes back to starting from scratch with automation, right? In a way that you're designing stores, and if you design with automation in mind, it's already going to look different. And the way that it does look different is that I guess there are two cases. So one case in where you already have parcel handover services incorporated into the store, then it means you can kind of scale down on that and release some space for sales or for other services. So you just have more efficiency in that. If you're a retail store, then every square meter is hundreds of euros of revenue, can be per day, depending, of course, on the store and the location, but it can be massive value that you're recovering from there. And if you don't yet have parcel handover in your store, then designing it into the store from scratch, it means that you build it in. There's a little bit of an extra effort, but compared to having to design in a manual handover solution, you're still saving space. So I think it's going to be a staple, at least for most high traffic or even it doesn't have to be super high traffic, mid traffic locations where it is common to pick up online orders, that is automated parcel handover will be a part of the design from scratch.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Another question we have is there a potential to use automated pickup points as mini marketing touch points, for upselling, product discovery, or brand experiences?
Yeah, I think it doesn't even have to be mini marketing touch points, right? We can go as big as you like with it. You've got an area in store where customers are coming to pick up a parcel. Where you place that in a store can be really important. So going back to the old milk analogy in a store, you put your milk right at the back of the store, so customers have to walk through, see what else is available when they need to go and pick up their milk. The same kind of analogy can happen with the pickup points. If you put them in an area of the store, you can have products around it that catch the customer's eye, but you can also use the parcel collection machines to advertise as well. You've got screens on there on most of them now. How can we utilize those? You can use the parcel lockers for sales. Do you put your top 20 SKUs in a locker and a payment device there, get customers integrating and using these? These are, big marketing touch points. You've got footfall and you've got trackable footfall as well. You can really get the data from, if you've got 800 customers a day going to that parcel locker, you've got that as footfall that you can then use with brands. So yeah, I think we haven't seen too much of it yet, but I certainly think within the next 5 years, you're going to have marketing activations that are solely focused around automated pickup points.
Super exciting, interesting. Next question that we have is, does Cleveron provide 24/7 support?
Yeah, actually we do. Yes, 24/7 remote support is something that Cleveron is really proud of. It has been designed and built from ground up by our engineers, our teams who initially started with the project. And I think 24/7 depends on your business type. So maybe if you are you have a smaller business, you have a smaller volume target, you have less lockers, then the 24/7 might not have the impact you require. But if you are in a business which is global, has stores in most of countries in the world, then 24/7 accessibility and monitoring is critical. And we are really proud of it, and we're constantly improving on it. All automated alerts are directly given to the team, and I think most of the time we are aware of the incident before the client is.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. We went a bit over time, but I think this was a very interesting discussion that we had here. And thank you so much for participating in it. Thank you for people who are watching this webinar. So yeah, any final words that you have?
Just start automating. I think that's the message. It is the way retail is going and the way logistics is going. It's not a should I, it's a when should I.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't set that roof on your activities. You're by yourself. Like, get rid of that ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're worried, always you can contact the specialists and the professionals who can give you the insight. If you're worried about the risks, we can help you calculate and assess them from our perspective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And at Cleveron, we are always ready and always happy to talk and discuss and guide people through the processes. So thank you, everybody, for being part of this panel discussion. And I hope I'm going to see you next time as well. So goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.